international with national organizations, this skill is for you. So stay patient, stay connected. I'll be taking you through. So we are here. We'll be going through some pivot tables to teach you how to analyze data using pivot tables. I guess that we had not done this for some time. We are still waiting for others, but before others join us, here we have our data set. So this is a common data set that you would see anywhere. A common data set that you would see in an organization, see in a company, see in industries. So this data set is a small data set that I want us to use. Those of you who work in development organizations, who work in supermarkets, etc., you might want to analyze your data. So it looks similar to this, though in different contexts. So right here, we want to design a dashboard. We want to design a dashboard, and this dashboard is going to be revealing insights. When you look at my pivot tables here, you see that this Excel sheet that I'm just presenting has some data, and this data, in many organizations, they'll be asking you to reveal the insight of this data. Just by looking at this data, if I ask you that you should tell me which activity is reaching more boys or more girls, you see that it might be strenuous for you to start counting, because here we have protection, we have wash, and we have education. And then under the organization type, we have UN agency, international organizations, and we have national organizations. Then under the organization name, we have organization A, organization B, organization C. So this is how data is being presented so far as NGOs are concerned, so far as organizations are concerned. So of course, if you look at this data set today, we want to analyze. The first insight we want to get, we want to see what organizations are doing in terms of the total number of boys and the total number of girls. We also want to see in terms of what the activities, which activities they are reaching. So once you come to this data set, you click inside the data set. So right here, you click inside. Don't click out of the data set. This data set starts from A right up to E. Remember, we talked about columns being read using the letters and rows being read using the figures. So right here, what I'm going to do is simple. I'll just click inside here, and then I go to insert. So once I go to insert here, all I'll do, I'll see pivot table. There's an option that says pivot table here, and I'll click that option. And it says we should select these pivot tables from the table range. So I click. You see that the moment I click, now Excel is smart enough to come automatically and select the range of that table because I clicked inside. You see that I click inside, right? And then Excel is asking me and you if we want to go to a new worksheet or if we want to leave with the existing worksheet. So this is how Excel works. So right here, I would like us to go to a new worksheet so that it makes your work easy. If you are watching and following, please do well to just put your machine beside you. As I click, follow me as I click, okay? And here now, when I click OK, this OK here, you see that automatically it brings me to another sheet. Let me go back to our original data set. This is our original data set. So what pivot table does, it takes this data set and creates another sheet. And when it creates another sheet here, it now allows you to analyze on this new sheet. And you see how it changes the format of our data. This is just amazing. Now, there's something I want to show you here that is very, very important. You see that here you have the different columns, which is activity, boys, girls, total children, and then you have organization type and organization name. So right here, what we are going to do is to show you also, we have four areas when it comes to pivot tables. You have the filters, you have the rows, you have the values, you have the column. Now, anytime you get to this level, I always tell people don't cram the pivot tables, okay? Just try out things, try to test things out. Now, I want us to test things out. Remember that these columns here, you see, all these columns that we have for boys, girls, activity, organization type, organization name are the same columns that pivot tables are summarized here, because pivot table wants you to start analyzing this data, okay? So let's say we want to know what is happening with the different organizations, which are A, B, C, right? I'll just click here. You see that when I click here, automatically by default, it brings me under rows. I can still remove under rows and I put it under columns. You see that it changes the face, the format. If I take again under column, I put under rows, you see it changes the format. If I take that name of organization again, I put under filters, you see it changes the format and give me filters. Filters here means that at this point I can select all and then I unselect and I select one. If I want to deal just with organization A, you see it gives me this A here. If I want to select organization A and B, I select A and B, it gives me A and B, it tells me it's multiple items. If I want to select C, I click, it tells me all. Now you will see why this is happening. Now I want to remove these filters and move it from filter, bring it under row. Let's start with that so it makes it simple for you. Now I want to know, or we want to know, how many boys and how many girls organization A and B and C are reaching out to. So I'll come here now and I click my boys and I click my girls. You see what pivot table is doing, right? It has come to this big table here that we have here, brought it here under pivot tables, and see how it is summarizing the data without no stress. Now, there is something I want you to know. Now we are doing addition per se. And if we go and click values, you see that it brings us under values because this column where you have boys and girls, it has values, okay? It has values. That is why when you come to your pivot table and you click that boys and girls, they will bring you under values because you either be summing values or minusing values or timesing values, okay? And while we are here, there is something that we can do very interestingly. We can still take the name of organization. Let's say we want to know um, the organization, we want to know the different organizations one after the other. So we will take this same option, this name of organization, bring it under filters. Filter here in some sense means you want to filter when you want to cook fufu, right? You want to shifter your fufu, remove what you want to use and keep the rest. That's what we are doing here now. So I can come here now and I shifter and I say I just want to know what is happening with organization A and I click. So it gives me organization A has 830 boys and has 1,143 girls. You see? So if I come here again and I filter and I take B, it will give me 910 boys and 1,192 girls. You see how simple it is. We have just used we have just used a few minutes to bring out the insight. So C, we click OK, and it gives me 2,000 plus boys and 2,000 plus girls. So you see that when we put under filter, we can come here and select, okay, and sifter from here to get specific data set from specific items. Now, if I remove it back from filters and I bring it under row, you see that we see the data again in another format, right? And here, there is something I can do. I can click inside here. The moment I click inside this data, there is an option that pops up here. It's called pivot table analyze or analyze, sorry, pivot table analyze. And then I click. Once I click this pivot tables analyze here, it gives me another option that says fields, items, etc. And I click. When I click this field item set, it takes me to calculate fields and I click my calculate fields. Now, the reason I went there is because I want us to do a small calculation. This calculation in Power BI is called DAX, but I want us to do a very basic calculation here in our pivot tables. What we want to find out now from our pivot tables, we want to get the total number of children, which is boys plus girls, right? So once I go through this process, it says field 1. I'll select and I change this name. I want to put this name as total children. Sorry, I want to put S because there's another children there. I don't want it to clash. So this S is to make the data unique. So the next thing we have under here is formula. Okay. So the formula is giving us equals to O. I mean zero O because that O is an automatic number or default number that was there when we open that option. Now I'm going to delete that O and then I'll bring my boys. You see that once we come here, we see all the data set again, all the columns, organization type, activities, boys, girls, and total children here. So I want to click boys. When I click, I want to sum boys plus girls, right? And then it comes here and say insert field, and I click insert. Once I click insert, what happens here is simple. As I click insert, it gives me boys, and I go to my machine and I click shift plus, and I come again and I select girls and I click insert fields. You see that I am already creating a calculation here. I have said boys plus girls. I could still do it otherwise, boys minus girls or girls minus boys or girls plus boys. Either way, depending on my data, right? And then now I'll come here and I click add. I'll click add. Once I click add, it adds that calculation under here and I click OK. So now we have created a new calculation and automatically it appears here. So we have total children. Okay. So now that we have total children per organization, I'll just come in here and I click and then I go up to my insert here. While I'm click in this data set, please take note. I'll go up here and then I choose a visual. Now the visual I'll choose here is, you can choose any visual, okay? You see that as I go around the visuals, I already see how they look and it really gives me what I love, what I like to see, right? And I click, this is what I have chosen. So you see this visual now is a representation of this particular data set. Take note of this. This visual is a representation of this particular data set. So what I'll do here is simple. I'll come here now and then I'll clean this my visual. I'll click first of all here. When I click, these signs will show and then I right click and I delete. You see that I clean this area. You see how clean it is. I'll come to this other side here and then I go to my backspace and I click. I clean that off. I'll come to this any of this field here where you have some of boys, some of girls, total children, and I'll right click. And then it says hide all field button chart and I click and it hides all field button chart. Okay. Once that is done, you see that my chart is very, very clean. My chart is so clean now. And here now, I want to put my data labels on. And what we have here are the legends. So this legend shows me some of boys, some of girls, and total children. So I'll come to this small plus sign here. It gives me other options that are related to this chart. So if I come in here and I just choose the table data labels and I click, you see that it appears, all the data labels appears. These are the same numbers that we have here. So this blue stands for total boys, which we have here, 8 30 9 10 2259, and the green and the red, I mean almost the red stand or the brown stands for total girls, and the other green color stands for total children. So I'll go again to this small plus here and I put my chart title on. And when I click my chart title, this other option appears here. You see, this option appears here. So I can just say children reached by organization, right? Children reached by organization. So this is very, very important, guys. So this children reached by organization is very, very important. So this is where we are. So right here, I have this children reached by organization. Now, what I can do here is select this and I put a bold and then I put this color. Why am I putting this color? Because we have same color around here, because there's something about matching color when you create your visuals. So we have created our first visual from this data set. So you see that if you send this to someone who is in your team who does not know how to analyze data, they can quickly read this data and say, okay, organization C, this is what they are performing in terms of boys and girls, and organization B, this is how they are performing in terms of boys and girls. And if you look at our data here, you would see from review that just by looking, sorry, excuse me, you will see that organization C is doing more. They reach out to more children because their bar is higher. Organization B is doing second, and organization A is also doing third. Okay, or they are almost similar. Okay, no, they are second because you have 4,000. Organization B has 2,000. Organization A has 1,973. Now I'll right click and then I copy. I want to copy this visual and I want to create another space. I'll call this space my dashboard. Okay, so I'll write dashboard. Sorry. So I made a mistake here. Oh my god. Okay. So I want to create another space called dashboard. Okay. So this is my dashboard. What is happening here? Okay. 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 So I've pasted my visual here and I'll name this space dashboard. Okay. Dashboard. So this is my dashboard. So I was unable to name that, to write that name, because I have that name in another sheet that I've hidden the sheet. Okay, that's why it could not go, because it's the same name. It has to be unique. So I've just put dash there. So it refers to dashboard. So we want to create a dashboard here. So on this dashboard here, I'll remove this grid line. And to remove grid line, I'll go to view. Once I go to view here, I remove this grid line. You see that it disappears. All the grid line disappears. Here now we have just our dashboard is very clean. I'll go back to the main data set. I want to delete this particular sheet. Perfect. I'll go again to the main data set. Okay. And on this data set again, I'll go to insert again. And then I click my pivot table and I click pivot tables. And then it gives us another option again. And it asks us if we want to go to a new sheet. And I say yes. And I click and I go to a new sheet. Remember that this is the first pivot tables. I'll just put organizations here, right? Organizations. And then this second pivot table now, I'll put activities. So now we want to see what is happening per activities. We had already looked at what is happening per organization, right, guys? So here now, we will come here and we select now our activities. Remember that previously we selected organizations, right? Right? And we had organization ABC, but now we are selecting just activities, right? And our activities are education, protection, and wash. So while we select these activities, the next thing we will do now again is to select our boys and our girls, right? And we had already made our calculations and we have total children. We select that. You see that the moment we select the total children with S, it gives us now total children per activities, okay? Boys and girls per activities. So here again, we can still filter, right? Someone is asking, we can still filter. So I can still take my activities and bring it under filter here. And then I go and I filter and I say, okay, I select all. And out of this, I look at education first and I click OK. It gives me now data just for education. Okay. And then I can come here again and I select just protection and it gives me data just for protection. You see now, I can come again here and I select wash and it gives me data just for wash, guys. Okay. And it is possible to have this in filter and still have it in my row. So I will still take it here and put it under row. Okay, so right here, we have the values that are under here revealing to us what is happening in terms of activity. So I'll still click inside here, go to insert, and then I come now to visuals, okay? And I want to choose a bar chart, and I click my bar chart. So I have chosen a different chart now, and I still go through the same process we went through, right? I'll click here and I right click on any of this visual here, any of this option here, some of total children, some of girls, some of boys, and you right click. Once you right click, it says hide all fill button chart and you hide them because you want your data to be clean. Here again, we have our legend. You can make this legend bigger, okay? You can move this legend into different locations depending on how you want to see it appear on your chart. And then here again, we can go to this plus. And to this plus, we have data labels. We can click our data labels on, you see, and then it gives us, it brings it on. But now our data labels is kind of dark. I want it to have a very clean face. So I'll click this option, I'll click my data labels. I want to click all of them at the same time. When I click all of them at the same time, I go to home and then I put it in bold and I make it bigger, you see. And then I want to change those color. I want to put a yellow color whether to see whether it will go. And then I make it even bigger, you see, because I want the person who is reading this data to see it properly. I can still go to my legend. Someone is asking, yes, and do the same, you see. I'm making them big and I'm also changing it to yellow. No, if I change it to yellow, it will not give me a good color. I'll prefer to give it this color. Yes, okay. And then I can come here very quick and then I write, okay, children reached by activity, right? Children reached by activities, right? That is it. So here now you have children reached by activities. So right here, I'll just go highlight and then I bold it and I also put a nice color there that suits this other blue color. So right now I'll right click again and I copy this particular visual and I come to dash again, that's my dashboard, and I go to Control V and I paste. Now I have two visuals here. Now we can continue to do many visuals with our pivot tables until we are satisfied with the analysis that we want to do. But one thing I want you to take note is, now that I have created these two visuals, I want to create an interactive strategy. I want to make it such that it will be interactive in such a way that when I want to do something, it interacts and tells me what that thing is all about. I'll show you. It is called slices. Here, I'll go back to my first pivot table that I created. I'm going to hide this sheet. Don't delete the sheet. If you delete the sheet, then it will stop the interaction. So I'll come here and I write hide. I have hidden that sheet. I'll come to this other one for activity and I click hide. I have hidden that sheet. Now I have just my raw data and my dashboard. I can also come here and I select this option here and I merge. Remember that we looked at merge, right? In the beginning of our video or lessons. So I click merge and center. Merge and center means the title of the writing will come to the center. So I'll just put analysis with New Semotech. You see now. So I'll select this, bold it, and then I make it bigger. And then I want to change the color of that text. So I'll put this and I want to color the inside of this area and I click it and I put yellow. You see? So this is where we are. So this is our two visuals. So we are creating a dashboard. This is just a very simple dashboard I want to create. And you can even be more creative than me. Just learn the techniques, okay? And right here we have an amazing dashboard that we are building. So right here there is something called slicers. Slicers allow you to filter again in another dimension. So I'm going to go to insert up here, go to my tab and I click insert. And once I click insert, I'll come to what you call slicers here and I click slicer. When I click slicers here, you see it brings this other tab, this other option. And here you have the organization name, organization type, activity, boys, girls, and total children. Now, there is something I want you to know. We have already done analysis using organization, children reached by organization, and we have done our analysis using children reached by activities. So I would suggest that we slice now according to organization type. So we'll click organization type and then we click OK. Once we click OK, it sends the other information back and then bring us the organization type, which is international organization, national organization, and UN agencies. Okay. So now we want to arrange this our slicers. You see, this is my slicers here. Remember that before I created this slicer, I click on this particular visual. So if I click here, this visual will be interactive, but this one will not be interactive. Okay. If I click here, it tells me what national organization have done in terms of boys, girls, and total children. If I click here, it tells me what UN agency has done in terms of boys, girls, total children. You see? So this is the use of slicers. If I come to this plus and I click, it gives me all the data into my system. It tells me the summation of what international organizations, national organizations, and UN agencies have done. Okay, right here now, I want to connect these slicers in such a way that when I click, both of these visuals should be interactive. So what I'm going to do is I'll click on these slicers and I right click. When I right click, it says report connection and I click. You see that this report connection here now, it brings me all the visuals that I've created. Okay, it brings activities. So this is activity. These are the other visuals that I've created, which I have hidden. Okay, these are them here. So I'm not going to select them because they are not part of this our lesson. So I'll click OK. So once I click UN agencies, you see that um, 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 both um, visuals or both charts, bar chart and this pie chart, they are acting and interacting. So if I come and say national organization, it will tell me what national organization have done in terms of education, in terms of protection, in terms of WASH. And then it tells me what this national organization have done in terms of boys, in terms of girls, in terms of, are you seeing now? So national organization now falls under C, right? So if I come here and I say international and I say UN agency, it tells me what these are doing in terms of boys, in terms of girls, in terms of total children. And also it tells me what they are doing in terms of WASH, in terms of education. So in terms of so international organizations, they did not do anything under protection. So if you look at this data here, this insight is showing us that in terms of protection, they did not do anything under protection. But here now, national organizations, it shows that they did something on education, protection, and WASH. Okay? And under UN agencies, it also shows that they did something under education, protection, and WASH. Okay? So this is very, very, very important. Okay? So this is very, very important. So you see that here, my slicers again, I can analyze my slicers when I click inside my slicers and I go to insert and I click inside my slicers. What I'm trying to look at here is, okay, so this is how you can analyze. Okay, so this is how you can analyze your data, right, guys? So here now you can begin to analyze and fix this, put it in such a way that maybe it will be comfortable for you to click, or you can decide to bring these visuals up here like this. So it really takes time to analyze your data, guys. It really takes time depending on how you want to do it. So if I click here, you see the interaction, right? You see the interaction. You see how it interacts and tells you very quick what is happening with national organizations, what is happening with UN agencies. Okay, so these are some of the insight that I wanted to share with us. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead at the comment section and ask so that we can cover those questions immediately. But before we go there, we have some few minutes. We have about 10 minutes to close. I just wanted to do this for 30 minutes, right? Right, guys? So here again, there's another way that you can analyze this data. There's another very simple way that you can analyze this data, even without using pivot tables. There's another way you can analyze this data. When you look at my data here, I'll come down here. There's a small cross here. I'll just click, and it makes the data very big, right? Perfect. So right here, if I click inside this data and I go to data up here, data tab, I can click filters here. When I click filters, you look very carefully, you see that there are some triangles that appear, some small triangles that appear at the end of my columns, right? You see them here, they appear there. These are those small triangles, guys. Okay, so right here, what you see there are going to support us and help us to filter this data. Remember that we saw a kind of filter in pivot tables, but these are real filters here that you can interact with it directly. So if they say you should tell what organization A is doing in terms of boys, in terms of girls, you would simply come here under this column for organization and you unselect and you select organization A. And it will give you all what organization A is doing in terms of activities, in terms of boys, in terms of girls. Okay. And again, during our pivot tables, we had to use a calculated fields to do our summations, right? So here we can just put total children here, and then there are different ways we can sum this. We can just say equals to sum, click our tab, and then we reference these two cells, click OK, and then we allow our mouse to turn to this small black mouse, and we double click, and it shares the data down here, and we have the totals there. Okay, and I want us to try something. I want us to come here, choose organization A, and then click OK. And then I want us to click our Control C down, select the UN, this UN, and then select, no, sorry, select activities, and then select organization A, and then select all these. Okay, sorry. So my Control C is down. I'm choosing the organization. I want us to try something, guys. Yes, I'm choosing the organization. Oh my God. Okay. So I want to highlight. So I want to highlight the activities, the organization. Okay. And then I come to here and I choose a visual. You see that we can still create a visual in this manner, right? By coming here and just selecting those areas that you want them to appear on your visuals, guys. You see that here it gives us organization A, UN agency, UN agency, UN agency, UN agency, and then it gives us the total girls, boys, and total children that they are reaching out to. Okay. But one thing I saw here is that it did not give us for the activities. Okay, so we are going to come here to the main data set here, and then we delete this out. And then I want us to just choose what is happening with the activities, um, total boys, total girls, total children, and then you come to insert, and then maybe you choose maybe you choose this, you see. So there is something that is happening here. I'm just trying something, guys. So, so here we have, so here now it gives us a lot. There's something going on here. I wouldn't want to take you that deep, but just understand that you can also create visuals in this manner. But here we just wanted to see how you can filter using this direct filter. So here we can go to organization B and we will still see that same option for organization B, right? And then here now there are what we call some level of advanced filters. For instance, if I go here to this organization type and I go to filter by sort and I go to filter text and I want to filter with text that begins with, okay, begins with. So this is organization that begins with W and I click OK. Wait, let me see. So I want to filter. So I want to filter contains W and I click OK. So you see that I have done a filtering here. So I have come to this filter and I choose contain. And then it tells me to bring up any content here that contains a particular letter. Okay. So I can still say that I want to bring up something that contains E and I click OK. You see that it brings me UN agency and national organizations because they contain E. Okay. And if I come under activity here, I want to select all the activities and I still want to come here again and filter again. That ends with C. I mean Y, sorry, and I click my Y and I click OK. So it gives me all the organization that ends with Y. So you can use this to select names from your data set, okay? There are times that you can be dealing with names. You can use it to select names from your data set. It's very important. So now I can delete this filter. I can select all of them and I click OK and it delete that filter. Now I can also come here and still go to the filter by numbers and I say equals to, right? So I want to select only those figures that are equals to 200, right? And I click OK. So it gives me two of them here that has 200. So if I go here again and I still want to choose only those that contain particular figures, and then it's going to give me, now I'll select all and then I click OK, and then all the data comes back alive. So this is how we can do our teaching on pivot tables and also touch a little bit on filters. So I hope that this was helpful, guys. Please do well to comment. If there is something you did not understand, do well to comment and we'll reach out to you. Share this to your friends, share this to your neighbors so they are able to learn as well. In that said, we are already done for today's class. This is our first online lesson on YouTube, and we are happy. Thank you who are watching. We are very grateful for your time, and we hope to see you again some other time. Ciao, ciao. We will be teaching all kinds of amazing stuff on this channel, and we hope that you are consistent and hope that you are focused and hope that you have subscribed. So stay blessed, guys. We'll be ending this stream for now.